Most people believe age alone takes life away, but that's not the truth. The real killers are quiet, subtle, invisible. They show up as daily habits, emotional patterns, and silent neglects. It's not the body that gives up first, it's the mind, the spirit, the loss of purpose. And by the time the symptoms appear, it's often too late. This isn't about fear. It's about awareness. Because once you see these hidden forces clearly, you can push back and add years not just to your life, but life to your years. Stay until the end. The final reason is the most overlooked, and the one that matters most. Inflammation, the fire you ignore. Most people over 60 are walking around with a fire inside of them, and they don't even know it. Not the fire of passion, not the fire of drive, the fire of inflammation. Silent, chronic, unseen but relentlessly burning through tissue, nerve endings, blood vessels, joints, and even the brain. And because it doesn't scream immediately, people ignore it. They normalize the symptoms. They say it's just part of getting older. But let's be clear, fatigue, stiffness, brain fog, achy joints, and poor recovery are not normal aging. They're red flags. And that burning you feel under the surface, that's not wear and tear. That's your immune system misfiring, staying switched on when it should be resting. That's your body treating you like a threat day after day. Chronic inflammation is the unspoken enemy behind almost every major disease in the second half of life. It's not just an immune reaction. It's a breakdown in regulation, a state where the body loses the ability to shut off the response. And once that happens, damage starts accumulating everywhere. The heart becomes inflamed, arteries stiffen, plaque forms, blood pressure rises. The joints swell and break down, leading to arthritis, limited movement, and pain without a cause. The brain becomes inflamed, cognition slows, mood shifts, memory fades, and in time, it leads to dementia. Even cancer thrives in inflamed environments, using the same biological chaos to grow and spread. And yet people ignore the root. They chase the symptoms instead. Their joints ache, so they get injections. Their blood pressure rises, so they pop pills. They're tired, so they drink coffee. They're foggy, so they blame age. But no one's asking the core question: why is the body inflamed in the first place? Why are your cells treating normal life as if it's a war zone? Why is your immune system attacking your own tissues? That's the question that medicine often skips, because it's harder. It requires lifestyle change, daily awareness, ownership. The truth is, inflammation doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It builds slowly, brick by brick, from years of neglect, from poor sleep, from highly processed foods, from chronic stress that was never dealt with, from shallow breathing and emotional suppression, from sitting too long, from numbing out, from pretending everything is fine when your body knows it's not. And what starts as low-level inflammation, stiffness in the morning, irritability, brain fog, eventually becomes systemic. It spreads like a fire left unattended. You don't notice it until it burns through something vital. Here's what most people miss: you can be inflamed without ever having a fever. You can have high inflammation markers with normal blood pressure. Inflammation doesn't always scream, sometimes it just whispers. You feel it in your skin when it bruises easier than it used to. You feel it in your digestion when your gut becomes more sensitive. You feel it in your energy when a normal day leaves you depleted. And you feel it in your recovery. That small strain that should have healed in days lingers for weeks. That's inflammation keeping your body in a state of emergency. If you want to live past 80, not just survive, but thrive, you have to lower the fire. You have to cool the system. And that doesn't start in a pharmacy. It starts in your kitchen. It starts in your nervous system. It starts in the first hour of your morning and the last hour before bed. Because inflammation is lifestyle driven. Not by one choice, but by 1,000 small decisions stacked over decades. So here's what to change. Eat for function. That means whole foods, not because it's trendy, but because your immune system reads everything you eat like a message. Processed oils, refined sugars, chemical additives, they confuse your system. They trigger defense. Whole vegetables, healthy fats, berries, wild fish, these don't just nourish. They calm the immune response. They cool the flame. Move daily, not to burn calories, but to pump lymph, to circulate blood, to move immune cells. Even a 10-minute walk reduces inflammatory markers. Your body was built for motion. In stillness, stagnation grows. Sleep deeply. Your brain flushes out inflammatory waste during slow-wave sleep. Miss that window and the toxins accumulate. That groggy feeling in the morning, it's not age, it's unflushed inflammation. Manage your stress, not with distraction, but with discipline. Breathe slow. Get quiet. Stop arguing with life. Every unresolved emotion keeps your system locked in fight or flight, and that means chronic cortisol, which leads directly to inflammation. And finally, stop lying to yourself. Stop calling it aging when you know something is off. Your joints don't hurt for no reason. Your brain didn't just randomly slow down. Your mood didn't just shift overnight. These are signs, warnings, and the longer you ignore them, the harder it is to come back. Here's the truth most won't say: aging doesn't kill people. Inflammation does. Aging is natural. But inflammation is the accelerator. It's the thing that makes 65 feel like 85. It's the hidden hand behind sudden diagnosis, and it doesn't show up with sirens. It shows up quietly, in fatigue, in apathy, in random pain, in that sense that you're not fully you anymore. And if you don't take that seriously, one day it turns into something fatal. A stroke, a heart attack, a cancer diagnosis, and everyone says it came out of nowhere. But it didn't. The fire was burning the whole time. So stop ignoring the fire. Cool it. Feed your body what it needs. Move, rest, heal, pay attention. Because inflammation doesn't have to be your fate, but if you don't address it, it will become your future. Posture, the collapse before the fall. Most people don't lose their independence because of disease. They lose it because their body collapses. Slowly, quietly, until one day they're hunched over, shuffling their feet, relying on furniture to stand up, and telling themselves it's just old age. But let me tell you something hard that most doctors won't. You don't need a cane because of your age. You need it because your spine collapsed, because your core stopped firing, because your glutes forgot how to activate, because your chest caved in and your shoulders rounded forward. And once that becomes your norm, everything downstream starts breaking down. This collapse doesn't happen overnight. It's years in the making. It starts with sitting too long, moving too little, breathing too shallow. Your pelvis tilts, your hip flexors tighten, your thoracic spine rounds forward, your head starts jutting out, and little by little, your body forgets how to stand tall. You stop walking with confidence. Your stride shortens. Your balance becomes fragile. You're not falling because you're old, you're falling because your foundation eroded while you weren't paying attention. Postural decay is one of the most overlooked signals of biological aging. It's more than just appearance, it's function. When your posture collapses, your rib cage can't expand. That means shallow breathing, less oxygen, less energy. Your digestion gets compressed. Your circulation becomes inefficient. Your organs are literally being squished. Your spine becomes unstable and your gait turns into a shuffle. And when your gait goes, your risk of falling skyrockets. And if you fall after 70, that's when independence is often lost permanently. A fractured hip, a long hospital stay, then a wheelchair, then the slow descent. That's the path. And it all starts with posture. But here's what they won't tell you. This isn't destiny. It's a habit. Posture is a daily decision, repeated until it becomes unconscious. And the beautiful part, you can change it at any age. Your muscles aren't dead. They're asleep. They've been neglected. And your nervous system doesn't forget how to move, it just mirrors what you practice. So if you sit slouched for hours every day, your body molds to that shape. But if you begin to reverse it even slowly, even gently, your body starts remembering. Alignment can return. You can activate your glutes, strengthen your back, open your chest, realign your hips. You can rebuild the very structure that keeps you upright without a gym, without a trainer, just with consistency, attention, and awareness. Start with breath. Most people over 60 breathe like they're surviving, not living. Shallow chest breaths, high tension, low oxygen. But if you bring breath back into your belly, into your ribs, into your full diaphragm, posture begins to lift naturally. Because full breathing requires space, it forces expansion. And when your breath expands, your spine follows. Then add small intentional movements, glute bridges, wall angels, chin tucks, hip openers, gentle thoracic extensions, not workouts, reminders, signals to your nervous system that these areas still matter, that you still care, that strength still has a place in your body. Do them daily, not as punishment, as devotion, not because you're trying to look younger, but because you're fighting for function. You're preserving independence, dignity, power. And here's the deeper part that no one talks about. Posture is not just physical, it's psychological. When your body collapses inward, your thoughts follow. Your worldview narrows, your mood dips, your confidence erodes, your very identity begins to shrink. Studies show that posture affects hormone levels. Slouched positions increase cortisol and reduce testosterone. Not only do you feel weaker, your body becomes weaker, and once that loop begins, it's hard to escape. You look down, you feel down, you move less, and life becomes smaller. Not because of some tragic event, but because your spine slowly surrendered without a fight. But the opposite is also true. When you earn your posture back, your mind rises with it. When you stand taller, you think more clearly. You breathe more deeply. You feel more capable, and people treat you differently too. No one says it, but everyone sees it. Strong posture communicates vitality. Weak posture signals decline, and the world responds accordingly. That's why this isn't just about preventing falls. It's about reclaiming presence, reclaiming you. So if you've been ignoring your posture, stop. Don't wait until you need a cane to realize your foundation is crumbling. Start now. Sit with intention. Walk with awareness. Breathe with fullness. Stretch the front of your body. Strengthen the back. And remind yourself daily, this structure is yours to rebuild. Every day you delay, gravity wins a little more. But every day you fight, alignment comes back. Strength returns. Clarity returns. And your future shifts. Because aging doesn't kill you, collapse does. The kind of collapse that happens so slowly, you don't notice it until it's too late. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can rise. You can rebuild. And the moment you do, your body won't just feel different. You will be different. Isolation, the silent killer. As we age, something dangerous begins to happen, not all at once, but slowly, subtly, over time. We start to shrink our world. We stop initiating plans. We stop picking up the phone. We say no more than we say yes. We retire not just from our careers, but from connection. We go from full social calendars to quiet routines, from being around people every day to spending hours alone. And without even realizing it, we begin to disappear from our own lives. Not physically, but emotionally. Not visibly, but biologically. And that's when the real damage starts, because isolation, more than almost any other invisible force, is deadly. Let's be clear, you can be surrounded by people and still be isolated. You can live with family and still feel alone. Because emotional isolation isn't about proximity, it's about connection. It's about whether someone truly sees you, whether anyone checks in on your thoughts, whether your life is part of a shared reality or just a private loop of silence. And as this emotional detachment grows, the consequences become more than just psychological. They become physiological. According to the National Institute on Aging, social isolation increases mortality risk by up to 30%. That's not a feeling, that's a death sentence waiting in the shadows. Why? Because isolation doesn't just hurt, it changes your body's chemistry. Cortisol rises. Inflammation follows, immune function plummets, brain activity slows, memory begins to slip, and depression sinks in, not because of trauma, but because the body starts responding to a lack of emotional stimulation as if it were starvation. Because in a way it is. You're starving for interaction, for significance, for resonance, and your biology doesn't take that lightly. Humans are social animals. We are biologically wired to connect, to be seen, to be heard, to be mirrored. Your nervous system from birth to death requires other people to regulate itself. A baby dies without touch. An elder dies faster without attention. That never stops. Your biology doesn't retire from connection just because you do. If no one sees you, your nervous system becomes dysregulated. Your stress levels remain elevated. Your healing slows down. And most critically, your motivation withers. You start to care less. You stop moving as much. You eat worse. You sleep lighter. You skip the walk, the stretch, the call, because what's the point? No one's watching. No one's asking. And your brain adapts to that loneliness like a muscle adapts to disuse. It begins to atrophy. You forget names. You lose interest in stories. You stop sharing. and slowly the color drains from your inner life, not because you're broken, because you're disconnected. But here's what most people don't realize. The moment you reconnect, even in the smallest ways, your biology starts to reverse. When you laugh, when you share space, when you tell a story to someone who listens, your cells come alive. Your heart rate steadies. Your digestion improves. Your immune response strengthens. Your focus returns. Why? Because you've re-entered the human feedback loop. You're no longer alone in the forest of your own mind. Someone else is there, witnessing, reflecting, mirroring your aliveness back to you. That's not nice. That's necessary. And if you're over 60, this is not a side note. This is a primary health strategy. Forget supplements. Forget anti-aging creams. If you want to live longer and stronger, build relationships. Reconnect. Expand your emotional footprint. Volunteer at a shelter. Mentor someone younger. Join a book club, a choir, a walking group. Not for entertainment, for survival. Connection is your medicine now, and you need to take it daily. Don't believe the lie that your social chapter is over, that making new friends is for the young, that your best stories have already been shared. They haven't. There are people out there who need your wisdom, your humor, your scars, your perspective, but they can't find you if you disappear. You have to show up. You have to be findable. And yes, it takes effort. Yes, it's awkward at first. Yes, you'll feel rusty. But what's the alternative? Sitting alone in silence, convincing yourself that your presence doesn't matter, that no one would notice if you vanished. That's not aging. That's surrender. And you were not born to surrender. So ask yourself honestly, when was the last time someone really heard you? When was the last time you laughed with another human until your eyes watered? When was the last time someone asked how you're doing and waited long enough for a real answer? If it's been a while, don't wait for the world to knock on your door. Go knock on theirs. Be the one who calls. Be the one who shows up. Be the one who says, I'm not done connecting yet. Because here's the hard truth. Once the social world dies, the physical body follows. Your muscles weaken. Your memory fades. Your sleep becomes shallow. And your emotional center, the spark that makes life worth living, dims. But here's the good news. Connection can bring it back. One conversation, one shared meal, one walk, one moment of being seen. That's all it takes to start restoring what was lost. Don't let this culture of isolation swallow you. Don't settle for small talk and empty days. Fight for depth. Fight for laughter. Fight for friendship. Because connection isn't a bonus at this stage in life, it's your lifeline. And you are still here, still needed, still capable of creating joy. But only if you choose not to vanish. Stagnation, the brain you stop using. People blame aging for everything. The fog, the forgetfulness, the slow reaction time, the hesitation in speech. They assume it's all just part of growing old. But the truth is harsher and far more important. Most of what you call aging isn't about time. It's about neglect. It's about stagnation. Because the brain doesn't stop working because you got older. It stops working because you stopped using it. The research is clear. Not all memory loss is neurological. Much of it is behavioral. When you stop learning, your brain starts pruning. When you stop solving unfamiliar problems, it stops building new pathways. When you stop using your hands and eyes in coordinated, challenging ways, your motor cortex becomes sluggish. And when there's no new input, no friction, no demand, no real learning, the brain doesn't just get bored. It atrophies. Neurons disconnect. Synapses fade. Your capacity doesn't vanish, it rusts. And once that rust becomes your baseline, you'll start mistaking it for your identity. Let's be blunt. Your brain is not old. It's unused. Most people hit 60, retire, and unconsciously retire their minds at the same time. They fall into routines. They eat the same meals, read the same headlines, watch the same shows, talk to the same 3 people. They confuse comfort with stability, and in doing so, they enter the most dangerous state a human can be in, cognitive autopilot. Everything becomes predictable, safe, familiar, and because nothing stretches their awareness, nothing grows. Here's what no one tells you. Your brain is designed for tension. It grows through effort, through confusion, through trial and error, through making sense of new patterns. And if you're not doing something regularly that makes your brain uncomfortable, then you're not growing. And if you're not growing, you're dying, not metaphorically, but neurologically. The frontal lobe shrinks, the hippocampus weakens, neuroplasticity slows, and that's when people start slipping. They forget names, they blank out mid-conversation, they start repeating stories. And before long, the fog settles in, not because the brain is broken, but because it's unchallenged. Crossword puzzles are not enough. Sudoku is not enough. These are maintenance tools, not growth tools. What your brain needs is novelty. It needs new movement, new language, new rhythms, new skills that require you to fail at first, adapt and try again. This is how you rebuild gray matter. This is how you wake up dormant circuits that haven't fired in years. The greatest lie about aging is that you're supposed to slow down, that it's normal to feel less sharp, that brain fog is inevitable. But it's not. It's the result of a society that stops demanding your mental performance the moment you turn 60. No one pushes you to learn. No one expects you to innovate, but you have to fight against that. You have to be your own coach, your own student, your own source of intellectual challenge, because no one else is going to do it for you. So how do you break the stagnation? Start small. Use your non-dominant hand to brush your teeth. Learn how to write the alphabet with it. This activates new neural networks across both hemispheres. Take a course not for fun, but for struggle. Something that forces you to think differently. Philosophy, music theory, coding, history, foreign language. Anything that confronts you with unfamiliar rules. Learn to memorize again. Phone numbers, quotes, names of people you just met. Practice recalling them. Rebuild your working memory. It's a muscle, and it can grow. Read books that challenge your assumptions, not just to agree, but to engage. Debate ideas out loud. Have conversations that make you think harder than you're used to. These are mental workouts, and they're just as critical as lifting weights for your body. And move. Movement sharpens cognition, not just walking, but coordinated, intentional movement. Balanced drills, dancing, martial arts. Learning a new physical skill forces your brain and body to reconnect. It stimulates proprioception, reflex timing, and these don't just keep you nimble, they keep you intact. Movement is taught in physical form. And don't fall for the comfort trap. The moment something gets easy, push a little further. The goal is not to feel smart, it's to feel stretched, confused, curious. Learning isn't a luxury, it's cognitive survival. The brain was never designed to be a storage bin. It's a processing machine. And if you stop feeding it challenges, it slows down and eventually shuts down. The fog that so many people experience after 60 isn't random. It's predictable and preventable. But only if you stop treating your brain like a relic and start treating it like a living system. A system that needs novelty, struggle, risk. A system that, if you neglect it, will decay in silence, and by the time you notice, it's hard to reverse. So don't wait for dementia to scare you into action. Don't wait until you can't remember your doctor's name. Start now. Stretch your brain every day. Make it sweat. Learn something difficult. Challenge yourself until you're mentally uncomfortable, and then stay there. Because on the other side of that discomfort is clarity, strength, longevity. You are not forgetful because of your age. You're forgetful because your mind has been idle, and the only cure for stagnation is movement, not just of the body, but of the mind. So move, learn, struggle, repeat, or let it all slip away in silence. Purpose, the decision to live or fade. This is the final killer, the one nobody sees coming, the most silent, most underestimated force behind decline. It's not disease, it's not genetics, it's the loss of purpose. And it doesn't happen all at once. It happens slowly, like a switch being dimmed over years, until one day there's no light left. The tragedy, most people think they've done everything right. They worked hard, provided for their families, followed the rules, and earned the right to rest. And then they retire, not just from work, but from effort, from choosing, from steering, from being the main character in their own life. At first it feels like peace. No alarms, no deadlines, no pressure. But that peace, if untethered from purpose, turns toxic. It mutates into passivity, into numbness, into decay. Because your biology isn't designed for permanent stillness. You are hardwired to move towards something meaningful, something that demands presence, planning, decision. When that aim disappears, your body doesn't rejoice. It downshifts, It reads the absence of direction as a signal. We're done. And then it begins to turn off one system at a time. Digestion slows, hunger fades, hormones drop, sleep becomes lighter, reaction time dulls, muscles begin to waste, healing takes longer, the brain stops building new cells, all because the internal systems don't see a reason to stay sharp. They assume the story has reached its final act, and in many ways it has not because of age, but because of choice. Not choosing is a choice, and that choice leads to silent surrender. You see it everywhere. People who once led families, companies, movements, now sitting on couches for hours a day, scrolling, watching, fading. They go from creators to consumers, from leaders to bystanders. They stop using their voice, stop standing for anything, and slowly the body mirrors the mind. The spine collapses, the eyes dim, the walk becomes slower. There's no fire left, not because it was taken, but because they stopped feeding it. But there's another path. The people who live longest and live well aren't just the ones with perfect labs or strong genetics. They're the ones with reasons. Reasons to get up. Reasons to show up. Reasons to serve, protect, help, lead, guide, build. It could be a garden, a grandchild, a neighbor, a cause, a mission. It doesn't have to be global. It just has to be real. Something that pulls you forward. Something that asks something of you. And the magic is, when you say yes to that responsibility, your body hears it loud and clear. We're still in this. And it responds. Biology isn't philosophical, it's practical. It reads your behavior and adapts accordingly. If you stop pushing, it stops preparing. If you stop choosing, it stops supporting. But when you take back ownership, even over something small, like your walk, your hydration, your breath, the system reactivates. Cells start communicating more clearly. Hormones stabilize. Focus returns. Healing improves. That's not willpower. That's biological alignment. Purpose is fuel at the cellular level. So let's be precise. Retiring from stress is good. You've earned that. But don't retire from leadership. Don't retire from vision. Don't retire from responsibility, especially over your own state. Because once you hand that over to routine, to convenience, to the default, your life stops expanding. And when life stops expanding, it starts closing in. The calendar gets smaller. The emotions get flatter. The days blur together. And time starts slipping through your fingers, not from speed, but from saneness. You were not designed for that. Even in your 70s, 80s, 90s, your nervous system is still listening, still adapting, still waiting for orders, still hoping for a signal that says, let's move, let's try, let's decide. That signal doesn't have to be grand. It can be as simple as choosing to mentor someone, as humble as learning a new skill, as steady as walking every day and making it non-negotiable. But it must come from you. No one can assign you purpose. It has to be chosen. Ask yourself honestly, who would be impacted if you showed up sharper this year? Who still needs your presence, your wisdom, your stability? What part of life still excites your curiosity? What story are you still writing? Because if you can't answer that, it's not because there's nothing left. It's because you stopped asking. Purpose doesn't leave you. You leave it by deciding there's nothing more to reach for. That's the beginning of decline, not physical, but psychological. And once the mind disengages, the body isn't far behind. So take it back. Even if you've drifted, even if it's been years, even if your circle is smaller, your energy is lower, your role has changed. The mission hasn't ended, it's just evolving. Your strength now is in depth, not speed, in wisdom, not flash, in presence, not pressure, but it's still needed. The world still needs elders who choose to lead, not just sit, who choose to stay awake, aware, alive, not just wait for the end. Because here's the final truth. Once you stop steering your life, your timeline shortens fast. You don't get those years back, and you don't realize how much you gave up until your body forgets how to fight for them. So make the decision, not just to exist, but to live, not just to last, but to lead. Pick a direction, any direction, but make sure it's yours. And the moment you do, the body will follow. And you won't fade, you'll ignite. You don't live long by accident. You live long because you resist the slow death of comfort, isolation, weakness, and mental retreat. So if you're past 60, this is not your wind down phase. This is your final masterpiece. Create it with intent. Walk stronger, stand taller, think deeper, connect harder, and life like someone who plans to be here strong, sharp, and present well beyond 80.